Fires one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Folks, the coffee's hot, coffee's strong. This is the episode 40 of Slangin The Bizkit. It's going to be action-packed. We've got a lot of things to talk about. The Devin Dubnyk episode. I'm joined by my incredible co-host, the number one morning show in the city of Winnipeg, Mr. Dave Wheeler. How are you doing?
Hey, not only is the coffee hot, it's actually springtime weather's finally in Winnipeg. Look at this. Look at this. Wearing shorts. You can see my knee. I'm wearing shorts. Give me some beauties only weather.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a backyard barbecue beauty, you're going to want to turn it up to 10 this weekend because in Winnipeg, we got a high of +3. Break out the sun chairs, break out the flip-flops. It's going to be gorgeous. It may not be as green as it is in Vancouver, but you'll be grilling all spring long. And then when summer finally comes in about 2 weeks, you're going to be loving it almost as much as you love this podcast. How's that for beauties only weather?
The real champs don't even stop barbecuing in Winnipeg in the wintertime. They will barbecue in -40. I've been that guy in the past. But I'll tell you who got barbecued pretty good is the Winnipeg Jets by their head coach, Rick Bowness. I want to talk about that a little bit later on because, that's drama that's been lingering. You know when you're in a relationship and you just kind of know that it's not working, but you know you got to kind of make it work for whatever reasons? They've been doing that this entire season, and it finally came to a head at the end, and I can't wait to dig into all the drama that it's caused in this city, especially Winnipeg, which is a city of just under 1 million people, and you got 500,000 general managers deciding what should be done when Kevin Cheveldayoff is the only one that's calling the shots. Oh, baby, is it juicy.
You know what his rant reminded me of? There's this guy on TikTok. I can't remember what his name is, but he does these comedy skits based on sports locker room environments. And he did one the other day that was like a 16-year-old AAA locker room. The coach comes in, he kicks down the door, and he's like, "All right, boys, who wants to be here? Huh? Anybody? Yeah. If you don't want to be here, yeah, you can just take your gear off." That's literally what the Rick Bowness rant on the Jets kind of sounded like.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Hopefully we'll have some audio for you a little bit later on, too, because it is thick. Speaking of not wanting to be there, what's the latest? I know we're a little while away from the FPHL expansion draft with a couple of new teams coming in. What's the latest with you? What have you heard? What do you know? You're all healthy and ready to go for next season. Tell us what's up.
We have a lot to talk about, especially in that sense. But real quickly, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Patreon members as always. They make the show possible. And if you are a Patreon member, it's $5 a month to join. And thank you much for your support. You get Trav rookie cards from Motor City in Sweden. Get some new ones coming up from my time at college and VIU, first year in Sweden, junior as well.
Well, hang on a second. You only get one rookie card. How do you don't get 3 rookie cards?
If you play less than 25 games, you just keep being a rookie over and over until 26, which I'm now. But anyway, so yeah, if you're a Patreon member, thank you so much. If you want to join, it's $5 a month. We got mugs and sweaters coming up next month. Actually, that's on my to-do list later on this week. And so thanks to our Patreon members. But let's talk about Motor City, the Fed, the expansion, all this kind of stuff. So first off, the FPHL season is complete. I mean, the finals are going on right now between Carolina and Danbury. But there'll be an expansion draft taking place next month, and there are 3 teams. This is hot off the press. This isn't confirmed because I guess the league goes on vacation over the summer, but drum roll please, Mr. Wheeler. The Baton Rouge Red Sticks, they're not called the Red Sticks, they're the Baton Rouge Pro Hockey team.
Missed opportunity.
I agree. Baton Rouge will be in the league next year. Obviously, that's already been confirmed.
What are they called?
The Baton Rouge Pro Hockey Team. They don't have an official name yet. Okay. So, Wyethville, Virginia, in obviously Wyethville. They don't have a team name yet either, but they're, I believe, Navy and White. Already been taking shots, the Watertown Wolves online, so that's great. They'll be coming into the league. And then the biggest one, this one was a surprise when I heard this one. The Danville Dashers are making a comeback. They're going to be returning for 2023. They folded due to the COV. And the same ownership that was owning the Vermilion Bobcats, I guess they folded. Now they're taking over in the Fed, which is great. So there's 3 teams. That's 3 potential goalie spots for each. So that's 9 goalie spots coming up in the draft. Now, here's the deal. Now we got to kind of rewind a little bit. So I had my year-end meeting with, the Motor City management. And so each team is allowed to protect 15 players for the expansion draft. Doesn't matter who you can protect. All your goalies, all your defense, whatever you want. 15 guys.
In that league, are you allowed to protect coaches too? Because I know coaches have been swapped.
No. Joe Pace would find a way to trade himself. But God bless that man anyway. Traded himself for a washing machine.
Good trade.
Yeah, we really needed a washing machine. Actually, you know what? The Elmira Mammoth probably would pull out that trade. They had no washing machine. They showed up to Motor City with those roller hockey jerseys. So that's not out of the question.
Yeah. I've heard of massage tables. The old joke is the bag of pucks, but yeah, it's amazing what you need sometimes.
Anyway, so I had my year-end meeting. The Motor City Rockers are going to be protecting the best goalie in the league, obviously Trevor Babin, and yours truly is going to be unprotected. They're also doing 14 other players. Now, the way that it works is that now I go into the expansion draft, which is going to be taking place, I believe the GM meetings are May 17th, and the draft is the week after, which is May 24th. Now, it's not like it's like official, like they're renting out, the Binghamton Budweiser Memorial Gardens for the draft. It's just like an online thing. They submit their list of players that they want and who they don't want, and then guys have up to 7 days to sign. So Baton Rouge, Wyethville, or Danville would have dibs at me if they so desired. I have a feeling I know which one would probably take me because my agent and I were in touch with somebody from one of the teams. We probably can't say yet, but we did have a light conversation. And so then they have 7 days to sign me. And then from those 7 days, if there's no signing, I become a free agent, and then I can go wherever I please. Now, this is where things kind of change really quickly, is although Motor City didn't protect me, kind of to my surprise, I was told that they would like to have me back, and apparently the league is going to be changing to you can only carry 2 goalies, not 3 like it was this year. So, there's some things that have to happen. I got to clear through the expansion draft, but that is an option. I guess the Motor City Rockers are, open to have me back, which is...
Now, hang on a sec here. I've been through enough relationships in my life where that sounds like the old, listen, I still really like you, and I think we can still be friends, but I don't see this working. How do they say we'd love to have you back, but not protect you?
I think that they realize you can't not protect the best goalie in the league, which makes sense. And we talked about this last week, that this is exactly what you have to do if you're the Motor City Rockers. I guess Babs is going to be coming back, and then you work from there. Your starting goalie is more important than your backup. Simple as that.
Yeah, but you said you can protect up to 15 players, and you said you can protect anyone. So if you want to, you can protect both your goaltenders.
I guess they decided to protect players instead of me.
And they just gave you a nice little Hallmark card at the end saying, "Please come back. We miss you. Please be friends."
Now, here's the deal. So I talked to my agent yesterday. We had a nice little lengthy talk. I don't care where I go. We've documented this on the podcast and the show the last couple months. I don't care where. It could be the Gulf of Mexico. It could be Baton Rouge. It could be Motor City. It could be Fort McMurray, Alberta. If there's a team, they're willing to give me 10-plus starts in the Feds next year, and I'm the genuine backup, I don't care. I will go there, and that's where I'm going to play. Whoever is the first, buyer, if you want to call it that, is where I'm going to go. I don't discriminate. I just want to play. Mm-hmm. I want to carry on my career and do it. What I think I'm capable of doing is being a good backup goalie, earning my playing time, and working my way up to a starting position, which is the goal. Funny enough, a comment my agent made over the phone the other day was, and as we talked about in the show, a lot of guys retire because the old ladies putting pressure on, hey, let's start life. Guys running out of money because they're paying off their student debt, or they're 35 and they're like, I can't keep living off $250 a week. I got to aspire for something a little bit more. You can't just keep collecting cans and going back to the recycling depot every Tuesday, right? If you know what I'm saying. We'll get to that in a moment. But one of the things that he talked about was realistically, he's like, you could be a starter in the SP by 31, 32 at this rate. And I said, sooner, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's no pressure. You don't need to get a job. You train all summer. You just wait for an opportunity to open up. You weasel your way and you just keep going and going and going. It's very realistic. I could be a starter in the SP in 5 to 6 years. And
why stop there? Let's shoot for the East Coast. Let's go for the American League. Why not? Let's get you a backup job, open up doors in the show. Come on, the sky's the limit here.
I think if you look on social media, anybody that talks about a guy going from the Fed to the NHL, everybody's in unanimous agreement that it will be a goalie. It's just so hard to do as a player. Scott Darling went from I think it was the Evansville Thunder, it might have been the Pensacola Ice Flyers, all the way up to the Chicago Blackhawks winning a Stanley Cup. So if it's going to happen, it's going to be a goalie. Also, shout out to Joe, I can't remember his last name. He played in the Fed in 2019, 2020. And we just signed a deal with the Manitoba Moose. Might have been 3 weeks ago. So from the Fed Zeno to the American League with the Manitoba Moose. Obviously, that it helps when the Jets brought up 5 goalies for the playoff run to be Black Aces. But yeah, amazing. Shout out to Joe.
Incredible. Good for him. Well, I got to ask you this question because coming from a guy who's technically we'll call a free agent after I lost my job in radio a number of years ago, I sat on the sidelines for 2 years. And I know it's less than a month for you until you kind of find out, or close to a month until you find out where you're going to be playing next year. What do you do in the meantime? Is it sitting on pins and needles?
As far as my mental health goes, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Are you? Let me ask you this one: what are you? I don't even know if you should answer this or if you're allowed to answer this. I know you said you'll play anywhere, but you have to have a top 1 or 2. Are you manifesting anything? Are you closing your eyes and seeing that locker room, seeing that ice, seeing your surroundings? Is there anything that you're trying to work towards mentally?
Well, Victoria made seafood, not a seafood gumbo, like a seafood broil the other day. And if you know the region that comes from, seafood bake like that, you probably have a rough idea what we're trying to manifest. Does that kind of make sense, Dave?
Yeah, that's actually right around the top of the tropics. I'm quite familiar with that area. I went down to that area once upon a time to go see a certain pro football team play. So yeah, I'm familiar.
Okay, good. So we're on the same page there. I gotta be careful here because I'm allowed to talk to any of the expansion teams, right? Like the expansion teams have my information; they can reach out, and one has. As far as the established teams, apparently not supposed to be talking to them, but there was a manager from one of the established teams that reached out the other day, and he calls me up and he says, "Listen, this is what I want you to do. I want you to tell every single expansion team that you're going to retire or go to Europe. You ain't reporting, and then you come to me day one of free agency." And I said, "So you want me to Eric Lindros these teams, basically? Just tell them I'm not reporting. See you later." And he's like, "Yeah, and then you can come play with me. It's the easiest way to come play for me." And I said, "Brother, I played 44 minutes last year. I don't think I can be in any position to be Eric Lindrosing teams when an opportunity comes up, right?"
Well, I think the better way of going about that, instead of putting the onus on you, which is technically tampering, and you're not allowed to do that, I think the best way instead would be to cut a deal elsewhere. I mean, if he can call one GM saying, "Hey, I want you to take X player in the expansion draft, let him sit for a week, don't sign him, let him become a free agent so we can get him off that previous team, and I'll give you a washing machine." That seems much more feasible too, because it keeps the player out of the drama.
It's true. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, but I don't know where I'm going to go. If I was to make a prediction, I think one of the expansion teams will pick me up. I think there's going to be a fit. We're going to have some talks with the phone about specifics about, like, I don't want to be your third guy. I don't want to be your cheerleader and your marketing guy. I want to play games. We'll play within the rules of what I can and can't do marketing wise, like with the videos and the vlog and the podcast. But I want to play. Simple as that. There's one team that I have my eye on more than maybe the other two, just from being in touch. And then we talked about them having such a huge capacity in the league. But at the end of the day, first team that comes up and says, "Hey, we'd like to have you, and this is the opportunity. You're going to be playing X amount of games." Signed. Done deal. End of story. And I will look on the Amtrak website immediately and ask, how can I get down there by train?
Well, I wish you luck, man. And like I said, it's not easy kind of sitting around just waiting. I mean, at certain points, you just kind of fill your days with nothing, just trying to get to that day so you can go to bed and wake up the next day and you're one step closer. So, yeah, I'm sure you're going to be sitting around your phone like a prom date waiting for their date that's stand them up on prom night. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear the news. I'm sure everyone else is too. So can you give us a tentative date on when exactly you'll know?
So the expansion draft is May 24th-ish. So I'm assuming by the 25th they'll have called me. And then by June 1st, I'll either have been signed or not. So in that early June-ish, there should be a rough idea what's happening. It'll come to the podcast first. Obviously, the vlog will follow suit maybe a couple weeks later. But yeah, that's basically the rough timeline, shall we say.
And in the meantime,
last year at this time was very, very stressful. Obviously, coming home from Sweden, I didn't have a team because the import rules changed, so there was no team in Sweden that I was going to go with unless it was something crazy last minute that popped up. And then into June, beginning of July, I had no team. But now it's like I know I'm going to play in the Fed, and I think too, like, I'm so preoccupied with like rehabbing my hip, and things are going very smoothly. We're ahead of schedule, and I'm seeing things opening up. I think it's keeping me very, very busy and not having to worry about, is somebody to take me, is somebody not. Like, realistically speaking, I'm going to bring people to the rink by getting the vlogs out there and getting people watching the online streams, coming to the games, buying tickets. We're going to try to make sure the tickets aren't going to be super expensive. Maybe there's some way that I can help that. I had actually one idea the other day. I don't know if we should talk about this. Actually, no, we're going to talk about this. So we've maybe this might put kind of
impulsive. I love it.
ADD, OCD,
you got all
the
acronyms. You're just the alphabet,
and just like a sprinkle of autism mixed in there is what makes this podcast run every Sunday. But what was it talking about again?
You said I had this idea the other day. We're not going to talk about it. No, we are going to talk about it. I have ADHD and OCD and all the other things.
Oh, yes, I remember now. Thank you for reminding me.
Luckily, I don't, and I got a memory like a steel trap, so you're welcome.
Honestly, I know this is going to sidetrack a little bit. This is why the previous podcast failed, because you had two versions or two people just like that, and now you have one and is kept on the tracks by the top morning show in the city of Winnipeg for the last 20 years who just knows how to get a show produced. Although we are about 15 minutes into the show, and I've just been kind of chasing my tail in circles. But I had this idea. So we've talked a little bit about like the Pride nights and the promotional nights and the clean drinking water nights and all this kind of stuff in the National Hockey League. And there's people that were coming to the comment section saying how they don't feel welcome in an NHL rink. They don't feel they just don't feel like it's a great experience. And I thought to myself, this is maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, although I don't care what your background is, I don't care what your skin color is, I don't care who you sleep with, none of that shit means anything to me. What means something to me is that you don't feel comfortable in an arena. You don't feel that you've been welcomed by the game of hockey. Now, I can't change the NHL, I can't change societal problems, but what I can do is if somebody's in the area, I have the ability to get free tickets, whether it's Watertown, Elmira, Motor City. We always have free tickets available, so I can get free tickets for these people, welcome them in with open arms, give them a personal experience. Maybe set up some chicken fingers during the game. Here's a snack. Here's a great experience. You can meet the players after the game, and really just give them a first-class experience to change some of these people who just generally don't feel welcome into a rink. And it could be anything, any type of reasoning why they don't feel welcome. They don't feel like it'd be a good environment. I think that I have the ability to change that, and it's something I'd want to do, whether it's Motor City, Baton Rouge, Elmira, Binghamton, Watertown, doesn't matter. Anywhere, that's one thing that I would like to do next year to try to hopefully build a little bit of morale in the community and bring more people to the rink to a Fed game that otherwise wouldn't. And especially when you can get tickets for 10, 12, 15 bucks in some cases. Maybe you're paying a little bit more than you should in Motor City. It's 17 bucks a ticket.
I'll tell you a quick story, and this goes back years ago when in religious training, we'll call it, but there was a story about a church, and the pastors in the middle of the priest or whoever you choose is up there in the front giving a sermon, and all of a sudden, halfway through, the doors open and the light comes in. This disheveled person that doesn't look very good. They're all kind of dirty and they stink a little bit and they're wearing a leather jacket and they just look like everything you've been taught is people like that are bad. And people started like turning their shoulders and going like, oh no, what is that person doing here? They don't belong in here. And the person at the front that was giving the sermon said, that's exactly the person we want in here. That's the person that needs to be in here more than anyone else in here, because we need people like that to come into our circle because we have strength in numbers. And I think it's a very similar idea of you can't turn away people who maybe don't fit the bill, and the people that say, well, no, I wouldn't fit in hockey because I'm not, this way or that way. Give it a shot. You'd be amazed at how welcoming some of the people in there are when they just say, if you want to cheer for the team, I'll cheer with you. I don't care what walk of life you're from. You want to stand up and cheer and get excited and throw popcorn in the air when your team scores? Then guess what? We have something in common. And I think that's one thing that we need to do is find more things that we have in common rather than things that we oppose on. And when it comes to hockey, I think we can all love the game for different reasons, but as long as we're still cheering, that's great. That's one thing that about the, you look at the NFL and some of the rivalries, or even over in Europe and these footballers that'll go and beat the hell out of each other before a game. There's still something really weird about this saying, well, we're all footy fans, so we're all going to fight, and then we're all going to cheer, and then we're going to cheer against each other. I know some of the rivalries run deep, but that's one thing about North American hockey is, everyone's just there to enjoy the game together. So I think that kind of ideology needs to be spread more around, saying everyone's welcome. Like we're not turning anyone away. Please, we don't necessarily need to have a night in order to say you're only welcome this night, not the other nights. You're just welcome every single time. So I think if you got to drag them in one by one, like you said, let's do it that way.
I think too, like even 1 degree of separation. Like maybe we don't agree on a couple things, but listen, you love hockey. I love hockey. I like people for the most part. Maybe you enjoy people as well. Why don't you come on down? Like, and also too, like it's not like the NHL where we're charging $100 a ticket. Like I get free tickets. I don't get 100 free tickets, but I get some free tickets. And we can bring people into the arena that would never otherwise be at a Fed Zeno game, and maybe even change their life, change that whole experience, and welcome in with open arms, like like Scott Stapp of Creed, with arms wide open. Come on into the arena.
Are we getting into the music already? Let's save that for the end, like we normally do.
We'll save that for the end. But one thing that we won't save,
because one thing I want to tease, I found out before you get into Sheath, and I love Sheath. I know you love Sheath, but you want to find someone that really fits. I found something for you, and I hope you haven't found it yet because it involves your favorite deceased singer and a come back to life situation that I think you're going to dig. That's coming up later on in the show.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear about it. One thing I do want to hear about is how Sheath Underwear can change your life and to change my life as well. Now, Sheath Underwear is the presenting sponsor for this podcast, and they have been since day one, and it's why they're incredible. The first thing that I'm going to be doing this summer is putting on a pair of Sheath Underwear so that when we get into that stressful June timeline when I don't know where I'm playing, it's going to keep me cool, it's going to keep me calm in their bamboo mesh technology. I may also sling my biscuit into their dual pouch, that basket, keep everything separated, segregated, so that it breathes. And also, I might even get my missus into a pair because my stress is going to make her stressed out because they got amazing bralettes for women. They got the Sheath Underwear for men. And it was founded by a member of the U.S. military, former member of the U.S. military. He's out in Afghanistan, Iraq. He couldn't change his underwear for 6 weeks at a time and said, you know what? I got to fix this. Enter Sheath Underwear. And you can pick up a set by going to the link in the video description on the YouTube podcast. You got to check it out, or the podcast notes if you're on Apple or Spotify. And the code BIZKIT69, BIZKIT 69. You're not going to forget it. It's going to get you 20% off the best underwear money can buy. People ask me if Sheath actually works and if it's good. I wear the logos on my equipment. I put them on my glove. I put them on my blocker. Every save I make is with Sheath. I wouldn't do that if they suck. They're the real deal. Pick up a pair of Sheath Underwear today.
I'll be honest with you. I've shared the promo code to a few friends. I've also mentioned it on a couple of other podcasts and radio shows that I do. I'm telling you, man, people are starting to switch over. Get yours now.
Absolutely. One thing that I did want to mention is we talked about how like my hip surgery rehab is kind of keeping me preoccupied with not stressing out about teams because I'm seeing things opening up and I'm seeing gains and access to things that I've never had access to before. And one guy worth talking about too is Laurent Brossoit. Now I know Connor Hellebuck on our Jets got absolutely dusted, got the wheels beaten off them by the Vegas Golden Knights, but there was a silver lining in Laurent Brossoit. He had the exact same hip surgery that I had. I guess he would have had it a year ago, and the media were talking last night for Game 1 versus Edmonton about how he didn't really play many games this season. It took him a longer time than anticipated to come back from the surgery. But I think it just shows, like even watching now compared to seeing him in Winnipeg or even like a season ago, you just see like just how much more comfortable he is, how much more range he has, and I think that's just another example of how open things can get when this ailment that so many guys are going through gets fixed. And Laurent Brossoit, incredible goaltender. Kept him in last night versus Edmonton in Game 1, couple big saves, and I think they might go to the conference finals. I really do. Yeah,
well, listen, I will say this. We weren't overly impressed with Laurent Brossoit when we had him as backup in Winnipeg. He was just that. He was the guy that backs up Connor Hellebuck, one of the premier goaltenders in the entire world. And it is somewhat frustrating for Jets fans to see the understudy beat the starter, but wanted to give a shout-out again to not only Laurent Brossoit, but his dad as well, and we mentioned it on the podcast there a couple of weeks ago, just about how his whole goal is to make sure he takes care of his dad, who's been struggling with MS. And we actually got a nice little Slangin The Bizkit got a nice little mention in the sports publication online, which is pretty cool.
Yes, we did. The Sporting Tribune, one of the members of ESPN, reached out and said, "Hey, I saw your clip about Laurent Brossoit." Apparently, nobody had ever heard this before, and I remember. Training back in Winnipeg, Michael St. Croix, played with Laurent Brossoit with the Edmonton Oil Kings, and him telling me this story about just how all he wanted to do was help his dad, and then obviously about how well he was doing for himself back then when he was single. Now he's engaged, has a fiance, but just incredible how here's a man who all he wanted to do was just help his dad live a better life and have his dad live more of his life, like into his adolescence. And although I was told that his dad is really struggling, they FaceTime once, maybe twice, or every 2 weeks. And sometimes turning the games on is a little bit of a struggle, but his dad's still around, and hopefully they can make the most of what he has left. But what an incredible story! What an incredible story! I was also I was given the PR contact info for the Vegas Golden Knights. Might be a chance we get Laurent Brossoit on the podcast this summer. He trains over on. That'd be awesome. He trains over on Vancouver Island in the summer. Obviously, I'm based in Vancouver right now. And so many questions I would love to ask him. Talk goaltending, talk hockey, talk about his dad. Also want to know maybe about some of his junior days, but we'll leave that off the podcast for a different time. But Dave, let's be honest. Like, he's a good-looking dude. A very well-looking dude.
I'm telling you, that hair matches the jersey, so you can barely tell that he's got those golden locks flying off that golden jersey. Can we stick with the Winnipeg Jets? Can we get into this whole Rick Bowness, Blake Wheeler situation? Can we touch on that?
Yes, let's do some playoff talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Winnipeg Jets were eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs by the Vegas Golden Knights. Laurent Brossoit was on the better team, and that was evident. Connor Hellebuck just didn't steal a game for us. Now, you can make all the excuses that you want, that Mark Scheifele wasn't in the lineup for the last couple games. Josh Morrissey, our top defenseman and all-star, was not in the game. So we had some things working against us, but Rick Bowness comes out after the game. I'm not sure if you have the audio or not here, but
overall thoughts, I'm so disappointed and disgusted right now. That's my thoughts.
It was like you've been holding these feelings on for a bit. Is it just out of tonight's game, or finally wanted to release that?
It started back in January and February.
He comes out after the game and says, they said, initial thoughts, coach? He goes, initial thoughts, I'm disgusted. There's no pushback, zero, and it's the same crap we saw, around Christmas time. We're competing for the top of the Western Conference, and then just no pushback. And they're better. Their best players were better than our best players by a mile, and just lays scorched earth on all of his players. I can understand. I get it. He even said, he goes, I wear my heart on my sleeve in post interviews. He said, I have a problem of wearing my heart on my sleeve. I'm an honest guy, and sometimes I'm honest to a fault. And the players were asked what they thought of his little rant, and Blake Wheeler, who was the former captain of the Winnipeg Jets and had his C stripped off of him at the beginning of this season when Rick Bowness was hired as the head coach, I think we saw two opposing forces that were headed towards each other, and neither of them were going to turn, and we finally saw a clash. If you read between the lines, I think Rick Bowness was maybe talking specifically about Blake Wheeler, and I think Blake Wheeler was very calculated in making sure that he took appropriate words to describe how he was feeling about Rick, but trying to be that more virtuous one of the two, going, I think he should have said those things behind closed doors. I think he could have handled himself better.
Here's a question for you, Dave. Do you ever, you listen to those interviews and you hear what they say and then you translate what they actually mean? Like, he's saying those things like you just mentioned, but in reality, he's like, Rick, you're an asshole. Why are you saying that shit, you snitch?
Well, here's the thing. So I think, and I've had some time to kind of work this out in my brain from a psychological level. I still think that there was some hurt when Blake Wheeler got stripped of the C. Now, you got to keep in mind there's reasons why Rick Bowness pulled the C, in my opinion. Rick Bowness was coming into a locker room that was basically owned by Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele. Those two guys run that room. And Rick Bowness thought, I'm a new coach. I need this team on my side right now. So I pull the C off Blake Wheeler going, hey, I'm the coach and I get to make these decisions. So I'm going to move that C into an A, and I'm going to put it on Adam Lowry. And so now we're working with a multiple assistant captains instead of having a captain. And no captain was named, which I'm never a big fan of because it just shows that you have no real leadership on the ice. When the Vancouver Canucks did it with Roberto Luongo like a decade and a half ago, I thought it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. They weren't even allowed to do it, so they put a C on his helmet. Anyways, so I still think that hurt was there. And Rick Bowness, I think, should have taken a little bit of accountability in saying, I'm the coach. The buck stops with me. I obviously didn't get my guys ready for the game tonight, and the product showed out on the ice. I think he took it out on his players, maybe in a defensive situation. I think all year long there was a power struggle between Blake Wheeler and Rick Bowness. I really think there was a power struggle there as far as who was really in charge, who was really calling the shots. And then Blake Wheeler now, instead of taking some accountability, saying, hey, you know what? I'm C or not, I'm still the leader of this team. Maybe I didn't get the guys ready enough. I think they could have come to a level going, hey, you know what? We don't work well as opposites together. We probably could have done a lot better if we worked together on this one. And I think both of them kind of throwing each other under the bus was just an absolute failure for the Winnipeg Jets in general. And everyone, you talk about sitting on pins and needles about what your future is going to be coming up in June. Winnipeg Jets fans throughout the entire city are just sitting there on pins and needles waiting to see what Kevin Cheveldayoff does in the offseason with the core as far as Scheifele, Wheeler, Ehlers, Morrissey, Hellebuck, this team that they've been banking on for the past 5-6 years. Are they going to blow it up? Are they going to stick with it? Are they going to add? Are they going to leverage their future? Really curious to see what happens, but one of those two things cannot stay, and it's either Blake Wheeler or Rick Bowness. And they've already said they're keeping Bowness, so I think you might see Blake Wheeler going by the wayside, who only has 1 year left in his contract. Just my thoughts.
You related to Blake Wheeler by chance?
No, actually, he and I sat down for a beer shortly after the team got announced there in town, and I was still working with the Jets, and we sat there and I go, where's your family from? This area. Where's your family from? This area. I said, probably not. Probably not within 20 generations.
What if they got rid of Blake Wheeler and then put you in? Maybe you got rehired as the in-arena guy for the Jets.
Nah,
that's an idea.
There's only enough room in this town for one Wheeler, and it ain't got to be Blake.
Speaking of which, this is maybe a little bit old news, somewhat recent. You know who actually who hit up my girlfriend the other day? One of the goaltenders for the Vegas Golden Knights, Logan Thompson.
Why?
I don't know.
You thinking maybe he was hoping that she has a thing for goaltenders?
I think so. Full right goaltender specifically. But no, I saw he was creeping some of my stuff on Instagram. Then he hit her up, and I was like, it's interesting. Well, what I'm not gonna say. The guy makes $3 million a year. I mean, I know what the smarter
nothing to do with
is.
the money he's making. You just got to feel confident enough to go, yeah, that's right. That's my girl, mine, not yours.
That's very true. Also, you want to come down to the Fedzino. You don't want to go to Vegas. Vegas is a hostile environment. You want to come down to Baton Rouge. You want to come down to Motor City. These are the places you want to come, honey. Come on.
They got casinos in New Orleans. It's just up the road from Baton Rouge. Yeah, they got casinos there. They got Mardi Gras. They got great parties down there.
Listen, if there's anybody that knows where to find a casino, it's somebody who plays in the Fedzino. And I'll tell you why real quickly. We get paid usually on Wednesdays or Thursdays every week. The checks come out. And Fridays, Saturdays, the guys are buzzing. The guys are excited. They got their money. They're having fun. They're going to the slots. They're going to all these places. Monday rolls around, especially Tuesday rolls around. Trav, can I borrow $50? Where'd your money go? I lost it at the slots. I lost it at blackjack. Joker poker took the best of me this weekend. It's tough, and that's I would probably say a good 70% of guys in the Fedzino are gambling addicts. Like we even had guys in Motor City this year, like 10 minutes before practice, they're on their phone playing slots, just playing like card or games on their phone. It's interesting. But Victoria asked me the other day, what do guys in the Fed do for jobs? I don't know what some guys do in the Fed for jobs for money on the side. Obviously, we know Big Sexy collects cans all year round. I think that's a 12-month-a-year position. But as far as the rest of the guys go, I'm curious what they actually do because I never really got around to asking. I know some guys work at hockey shops or whatnot. Some work construction, but not everybody can I guess do a podcast.
It would have to be a job that's somewhat flexible for hours, depending on when you're traveling and how you're traveling and playoffs and whatnot. So I don't know if it's a full employee, 40 hours a week type situation. It would have to be, more often than not, from my experience, what I've seen, especially in junior hockey, you would see guys get hired by the sponsors. Like, say, Subway was a sponsor. It's like, hey, let's get one of them in as a sandwich artist. And they'd usually go, no, I'm okay. I don't want to be a sandwich artist. I'll go to school instead, because the rule was if you weren't going to school, you had to get a part-time job while you were playing.
Can you imagine Big Sexy working at Subway, just mashing up your cold cut? You want salt and pepper with that?
Flexing on it while you want me to do this with my shirt off?
You want double meat?
You just sprinkle a little salt and pepper on there, no big deal.
He's salt and pepper in his arms.
little salt bay, boom.
There's a lineup at the door because it takes like 30 minutes a customer to come into Subway.
It's like that coffee shop that you and Blondie there were talking about with the So you could do a sandwich version with Big Sexy where he just sits there and with every strip of bacon he puts on, one strip of clothing comes off.
One for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. Oh God. I miss that man. I got to talk to him sometime. Anyway, a couple things we did want to talk about, a little playoff talk. First off, the Pizza of the Year by Stuart Skinner. You see that, Dave?
Listen, the Edmonton Oilers, I think, managed to cover up a lot of their mistakes against the Los Angeles Kings with high scoring, like really high scoring. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that with Las Vegas.
I put this on my Instagram story last night. I literally think the Edmonton Oilers should go find Grant Fuhr, pull him out of AA, and put him back in net for Game 2. Because Stuart Skinner, I feel nervous watching the guy play. I get it. He's a huge dude. He's like 6'5". He's got a mustache. He could feed a family of 4 in there. He's a rookie. He's an all-star. He set the Oilers record for rookie wins. All this kind of stuff. I just don't feel confident watching him play. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't exude confidence. And I get it. The stick broke. Actually, the story behind that, Adrian Kempe had a breakaway, ended up making contact with Skinner's stick, and you see the stick snap, and he catches the dump in on Danault, goes to fire it, stick bends in half, folds over like a lawn chair, empty net, here's the pizza, the all-you-can-eat buffet in the back of the net. Now, thank God that wasn't overtime. Could you imagine that's an overtime, and that's like the double overtime winner, the series clincher on your stick breaking? CCM stocks would have just plummeted the next day. I know they already did, but...
Wow. Yeah, you know what? And that's the old argument of, you saw less full wood sticks breaking than you do a lot of these composite sticks. I know they're like, hey, no, these are. I've seen guys literally leaning into their sticks like they're full weight, bending them, and they're not breaking. But for whatever reason, you touch it the right way, a puck comes off it the right way, and they shatter like that. It's just you can't predict when those things are going to go. And there was probably nothing wrong with the integrity of the stick. It just got bumped the wrong way. Same time when we see. The glass at the back of the rink gets smashed by a little flippy do muffin that goes towards the glass, or a 110 mile an hour slap shot will hold its integrity. Like it says, you can't predict those things. So it was a comedy of errors on his part, and it just didn't add to that stigma of Skinner, which he's been going under, saying there's a good example of him not being a good goaltender. Well, you can't put that one all on him.
That's true. Did you see for game one last night? I don't know if you were up late enough to see it, but regularly throughout the game, he's flexing the stick, trying to make sure it's not going to break. Like you can tell, he was rattled by that goal. He's making sure that's not going to happen again. The second of this stick, he thinks someone's wrong. He's going and swapping out for a new one. I watched part of the game, and I watched the rest of the highlights the next morning for game one. But man, Leon Draisaitl and Joe Pavelski, how about putting their team on their backs and then completely getting thrown under the bus for it and losing? Like, how do you walk into the dressing room after scoring 4 goals and not rip everyone in that dressing room saying, where were you? Why was it Seattle versus Joe Pavelski tonight? Why was it the Las Vegas Golden Knights against Leon Draisaitl all night long? I had my guy. Honestly, I probably would have yelled at Skinner, be like, Skinner, I scored you 4 goals. Make a freaking save, dude. Like, come on. Like, literally, like, I think the Oilers should go get Grant Fuhr out of AA and put him back in net, assuming he's alive. I don't know where Grant Fuhr is these days, but they should go find him.
Yeah, you know what? Well, listen, Cujo almost went in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs there during the regular season. So, you know, if it wouldn't surprise me if the Oilers just kind of went, who's on the shelf tonight? Maybe make a trip to Edmonton and just kind of wave your hand in the air if the goaltenders are playing bad, saying, I'm here. Make sure they get injured.
Actually, I was talking to Victoria about exactly that, like the Grant Fuhr goaltending the other day. You ever heard that saying, Dave? I know I put it on the vlog a couple of times, but we ever talked about what Grant Fuhr goaltending is?
Hope your team scores more than the other team, and I'll try and stop as many as I can.
No, just make sure you give up less than they do. That's right. Basically Grant Fuhr goaltending. Let's say we score 9. I may not be great, but I'm not giving up more than 8. Right. That's Grant Fuhr goaltending.
Yeah, just you know, I don't care what your goals against is. How many wins do you have?
That's it. That was how Grant Fuhr won 4 Stanley Cups.
Well, listen, I mean, the New Jersey Devils, when they put Schmidt in, when they've got a 22-year-old rookie in the cage, the team plays different. And Lindy Ruff knew that. He absolutely knew that. They're going to play better in front of the rookie. He got 2 shutouts in the first round. And sure, he got lit up in game 1 against the Canes, but still.
Well, long series. Lots more time left. I'm excited for the Florida series. I think the Panthers are going to just mop the floor with the Leafs. Panthers in 4. I'm calling it. I know obviously game 2, maybe even game 3 will be played by the time this goes up live, but I think
you didn't hear? You didn't hear, did you? You haven't heard the latest?
I've heard that they're not allowing Leafs fans to buy tickets in Florida.
No, the people in Toronto feel like since it's been 19 years and they've already won the first round, they just get the Stanley Cup automatically.
You got to go past Bobrovsky. You really do.
Yeah, he's the linchpin of that series right now. If he can outplay whoever they put in the cage in Toronto, if he can play better than Samsonov, they win that series. I don't care who the other players are. Bobrovsky has to outshine Samsonov, period.
Somebody asked me the other day, and Victoria hates me for this because like Victoria's a hardcore Leafs fan. Her dad, Shoto Jay, is a hardcore Leafs fan. I am anti everything Toronto Maple Leafs until Matt Murray gets in the net. The second Matt Murray gets in the net, I hope the Leafs win the cup. I'm the biggest fan. Until then, I hope they get blown out 8-0 every single game. I support my boys outside of the Winnipeg Jets, maybe even to an extent. I don't care about teams. I support my guys, and Muzz is my boy, so I'm hoping that the Leafs get blown out and he gets back in the net. End of story.
You got to understand that in Canada especially, there is a disdain for the Toronto Maple Leafs around the rest of the country. There's pockets of Leaf fans all over the country. Wherever they play, you'll see jerseys popping up in whatever city they're in. But there's just this distaste for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think, in my opinion, one of the reasons why is growing up as a Gen Xer. Every time you tuned into TSN, they led with the first 10 to 15 minutes of every single broadcast they did was Toronto Maple Leafs. And you just get inundated. It's like, hey, there's other cities in Canada. Your team's not even playing tonight. Why are you leading with a story on them when you could have ran, the Oiler Red Wing game off the top? But they always rammed it down your throats. And I think people are just like, no, thanks. I'm good.
I was really excited for watching Joonas Korpisalo the first couple of games, the Kings Oilers series. He was really good for a few games. Maybe the last 2 kind of maybe crap.
Well, that save he made on the empty net was incredible.
Oh, you saw that diving stick save where he scooped it. It was like Patrick Waugh 2001-esque.
Oh,
like
the camera angle was perfect. They got the net cam in there. They saw him diving. Oh, yeah, that was. You'll see that one on the highlight reel at the year-end best of saves of the year for sure.
I don't know. I think because he plays for the Kings, people are going to forget about it. I think that's the save of the year. That might even be one of the best saves of this decade. He's going back to the empty. And when you see the degree in which he just scoops it the last second with this stick, incredible save, Joonas Korpisalo.
Unbelievable. Hey, listen, I know we're running short on time here, but I do have something that I need you to check out, and anyone else that's out there, you can check it out as well. So we talked last week or a couple weeks ago about the whole AI situation and how it's kind of invading every single market. There are a few gems. There are a few cool things that have come out of it, and one of them I think is going to get you really excited. Now, I know you're a big Nirvana fan. I know you're a big Kurt Cobain fan. Kurt Cobain passed away a long time ago. We all know that. But because of this AI, they're able to duplicate voices. They're able to replicate what they sounded like and actually have them sing based on all the material that's already there. So there were rumors floating around when Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love were together that Kurt had written her first album. Okay, just because she's a good performer, but she's not a really great writer. So he ghost wrote her first album. After he passed, there was rumors that Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins wrote her second record called Celebrity Skin. There is an AI version of Celebrity Skin from Hole, Courtney Love's second album, sung by Kurt Cobain, generated by AI.
You got to send me the link with that afterwards. I want to listen to that.
If it's still on YouTube, because a lot of this AI stuff is getting taken down by the labels and whatnot, but it's pretty chilling. Pretty chilling. I would have preferred hearing him sing something off the first album, something that he likely wrote, rather than a likely written Billy Corgan song. But still, listening to it, you can kind of go, yeah, that makes sense. I could see Kurt Cobain doing that song.
Yeah, shout out Billy Corgan, the uncle of my former teammate in Motor City, Chris Corgan. Actually, right. I was talking to one of the guys in Watertown the other day. I mentioned that Corgs was obviously the nephew of Billy Corgan, and they're like, I had no idea. Nobody mentioned that, and I was like, well, despite all of his rage, he's still just a rat in a cage, as you mentioned a couple months ago, Dave.
Yes, technically a dad music joke.
The world is a vampire. One thing I did want to mention was, I've been going to a little bit of a Limp Bizkit deep dive, obviously, where the Slangin The Bizkit podcast, people have been asking if that came from, Paul Bissonnette, Biz Nasty. The Slangin The Bizkit, I was 100% a Limp Bizkit inspiration. I'm a huge Fred Durst fan. Wes Borland, the essential sound, I think, of Limp Bizkit. Results may vary. I think it's their most underrated album. They got some great tracks. I know it was a box office fail, absolute flop as far as going in 2003, but great album, great songs. Build a Bridge, great ballad. Just Drop Dead, really heavy track, really drives you through. Just incredible sound.
Have you listened to their most recent album, Limp Bizkit Still Sucks? Because that one's been on high rotation for me in the past year.
I listened to that for the first, when Dad Vibes, the single, came out, I listened to it and I was like, this has to be like a song off of Chocolate Starfish or $3 Bills, y'all. Like, there's no way this is a 2021 song. But the whole album has that 2000 Limp Bizkit vibe. How would you describe the sound of Limp Bizkit, Dave? Am I wrong to say it's basically Fred Durst screaming with Wes Borland adding the whammy bar and the Floyd Rose on every single note, and then some really heavy drumming from John Otto, and that's the song on repeat?
You gotta keep in mind that they were part of that new metal revolution through the late 90s and early 2000s. So yeah, you've got the heavy distorted metal guitar with a turntable in the background with some very heavy vocals, but then a lot of melodic rap that's happening too. It's kind of a complete collision course of a bunch of popular genres of music that just seemed to work for a period of time, and then it went away. People got tired of it like they always do. But the ones that do really well are the ones that kind of go, hey, no, we're still relevant. We still go on a bit of a tour, and that whole nostalgia thing. And people go, yeah, I remember listening to that when I was younger. I want to feel young again. And so people are like, yeah, give me a new album, Limp Bizkit. I'll go see you on tour.
I wish you would get rid of the Dad Vibes look. Like, get rid of the gray hair. Maybe put some Just for Men in the beard. Like, you seen that Joe Thorne commercial for the Just for Men or no?
Yes, I have seen that. That's pretty quality.
I thought it was super. It was funny, but it was kind of cringy, the whole commercial. But anyway, but Fred Durst could
I
use
think
a
that's
little
what
bit
they
of
were
that.
shooting for.
Yeah, maybe spice up the red hat. Maybe Fred Durst could give Joe Thornton that red ball cap, the red new era hat.
You want him going back to that whole break stuff style?
I love that style. I love the sound. I just all of it. It's just one of those days.
Well, if you love the style and the sound of this podcast, we ask you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Give it a like, especially, and a review, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. Sign up to be a Patreon member, $5 a month. Trav mentioned it earlier, but a lot of great incentives in there, and we've got some more on the way. So sign up for that, please. Thank you again to our title sponsor, Sheath. Go check out their sheathunderwear.com and use the promo code BIZKIT for Limp Bizkit, BIZKIT 69, and get yourself a treat yourself and treat your boys. And if you got a girl, they got stuff for girls on there too. So go check out the website. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Yeah. And if you're on the video version of the podcast, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button because we do new episodes every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's 10 in Winnipeg, 9 in Calgary, 8 in the West Coast. And on behalf of Mr. Dave Wheeler and I am extremely excited to continue sharing this whole free agency process, the expansion draft, where I end up, who I play with, where I sign, all the details coming up. It's obviously going to come to the podcast first, and then it'll slowly trickle its way onto the vlog. But thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to Mr. Wheeler as well, to talking to you next Sunday. Any closing words, Mr. Wheeler? Take us home.
Yes,
here.
of course. I'm going to quote Fred Durst via George Michael for the next 3 weeks of your life. You ready?
Yep.
Because you got to have faith. Rock got to have faith. Because I got to have faith, the faith, the faith. I got to have faith, the faith, the faith. Baby.
That's so weird if you're not screaming that. We'll see you next week.